We all know the Galactic Empire ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. But what if I told you that their grip on the Outer Rim was as absolute as they wanted us to believe? What if the Emperor himself was secretly in league with the galaxy's most notorious criminals? This is the story of the unspoken alliance between the Empire and the Hutt cartel, a partnership built on secrets, smuggling, and a shared lust for power. Publicly, Emperor Palpatine condemned the Hutts. His official HoloNet broadcasts painted them as a plague on the galaxy, a den of scum and villainy that the glorious Imperial Navy would one day wipe clean. Grand Moffs and admirals gave grand speeches about bringing order to the lawless Outer Rim. But behind the curtain of propaganda, a very different story was unfolding. The Outer Rim was simply too vast, too chaotic, and too resource-intensive for the Empire to control directly. Every system they tried to pacify would erupt in rebellion elsewhere. It was a game of galactic whack-a-mole, and the Empire was losing. This is where the Hutts came in. They had controlled the Outer Rim for centuries. Their networks were older than the Republic itself. They knew every secret hyperspace lane, every hidden asteroid base, and every corrupt official on 1,000 worlds. For the Empire, they were the perfect, deniable asset. Secret meetings took place not in the polished halls of Coruscant, but in the smoky, spice-filled chambers of Nal Hutta and Tatooine. Imperial Security Bureau agents, cloaked and anonymous, would meet with Hutt lieutenants to broker deals that would never appear in any official record. What did the Empire want? Control. The Hutts provided the Empire with intelligence on burgeoning rebel cells, often selling them out before they could become a real threat. They policed their own territories, keeping the local population subdued through fear and debt, saving the Empire countless troops and credits. More importantly, the Hutts managed the galaxy's black market. Need rare materials for a secret superweapon project like, say, the Death Star? The Hutts could acquire them without raising any red flags in the Senate. Their smuggling routes became the Empire's shadow supply lines. And what did the Hutts get in return? A free pass. Imperial patrols would mysteriously be rerouted when a major Hutt smuggling freighter was passing through. Imperial customs would suddenly have sensor malfunctions when a shipment of illicit spice or weapons landed. And then there was the darkest secret of all, the slave trade. Publicly, the Empire had outlawed slavery. It was a barbaric practice of a bygone era. But in reality, the Empire had an insatiable need for labor for its massive construction projects and mining operations. The Hutts, with their long history in the slave trade, became the primary suppliers. Wookiees from Kashyyyk, Twi'leks from Ryloth, and countless other species were captured and sold into Imperial servitude, all while the Emperor delivered speeches about freedom and order. This symbiotic relationship was a masterstroke of Palpatine's cunning. He used the Hutts to maintain a loose, inexpensive form of control over the Outer Rim, all while publicly disavowing them. If a deal went bad or a shipment was intercepted by rebels, the Empire could claim complete ignorance. It was just another case of Hutt criminality. The Hutts, for their part, grew richer and more powerful than ever under this shadow patronage. They were the unofficial viceroys of the Emperor's most unruly territories. However, this alliance was a fragile one, built on mutual greed, not trust. The Hutts were notoriously disloyal. They would sell information to the highest bidder, and if the nascent rebel alliance offered a better price, they wouldn't hesitate. Imperial agents knew this. They walked a tightrope, constantly trying to keep the Hutts in line without giving them too much power. ISB operatives would often play different Hutt Khajiitics or clans against each other, fueling internal rivalries to prevent any single Hutt from becoming too influential. Jabba the Hutt, for instance, became a key player due to his control over Tatooine, a planet of strategic, if obscure, importance. The Empire let him rule his criminal empire as long as he kept Imperial interests in mind and didn't disrupt the flow of resources. This created a hidden war, fought not with Star Destroyers and TIE fighters, but with spies, assassins, and credits. An Imperial governor found mysteriously dead in his office might be the victim of a Hutt-hired bounty hunter, a message for pushing Imperial authority too far. A Hutt convoy disappearing in hyperspace might be the work of an ISB Black Ops team, a reminder of who was really in charge. This secret conflict simmered beneath the surface of the Galactic Civil War. While Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader clashed in the open, This shadow war determined the fate of trillions in the Outer Rim. The Empire needed the Hutts to control the chaos, but they also feared the day the Hutts might unite and turn that chaos against them. This unspoken pact reveals the true nature of the Empire. It wasn't just an organized tyranny, it was a hypocritical one. It preached order while profiting from chaos. It condemned crime while using criminals as its instruments. The Emperor's new order was, in many ways, just the old order with a new, more efficient layer of oppression on top. The Hutt cartel wasn't an enemy to be defeated. It was a necessary, dirty tool in the Imperial toolbox. This alliance, hidden from the galaxy, was one of the key pillars holding the Empire's vast and unwieldy structure together. The war for the galaxy wasn't just fought in the stars, but also in the shadows, where the line between law and crime, order and chaos, was blurred beyond recognition. An alliance of convenience, built on mutual benefit and a healthy dose of mistrust. But what happens when the insatiable hunger of an empire decides that convenience is no longer enough? Today, we dive into the untold story of the Empire's audacious campaign to seize Hutt space, a brutal conflict that would scar the grimy streets of Nal Hutta and the swampy palaces of Nal Hutta forever. This is the story of how the galaxy's most powerful military force learned a painful lesson: never, ever underestimate a Hutt. For years, the arrangement worked. The Empire turned a blind eye to the Hutts' smuggling, slavery, and spice-running operations, and in return, the Hutts provided valuable intelligence, resources, and a degree of stability in the Outer Rim. Moffs and Grand Moffs would visit Nal Hutta, exchanging pleasantries with the Hutt Grand Council, all while secretly despising the slugs they were forced to deal with. But Emperor Palpatine was a master of the long game. The Hutts were a loose end, a pocket of chaos and defiance in his perfectly ordered galaxy. Their vast wealth and control over critical hyperlanes were assets he intended to claim. The alliance was always temporary, a means to an end. The only question was when the Empire would make its move. The catalyst came in the form of Grand Moff Orin Trask, an ambitious and arrogant Imperial officer who saw conquering Hutt space as his ticket to the Emperor's inner circle. Trask, stationed in the neighboring Seswena sector, viewed the Hutts not as cunning political players, but as decadent, lazy creatures ripe for conquest. He compiled reports for Compner and Imperial High Command, detailing the Hutts' immense wealth, their control over strategic resources like carbonite and strategic hyperspace routes, and their destabilizing influence on the Outer Rim. He argued that a swift, decisive strike would not only bring the entire region under Imperial control, but also send a powerful message to any other independent systems considering defiance. He promised a quick victory, underestimating the sheer scale of the resources the Hutts could command. High Command, and perhaps even Palpatine himself, saw the merit in his plan. The order was given: subjugate the Hutts and absorb their territory into the Empire. The Imperial war machine, under Trask's command, prepared for what they believed would be a simple occupation. A fleet of Star Destroyers, including Trask's flagship, the Abrogator, jumped into the Tub system, home to the jewel of the Outer Rim underworld, Nal Hutta, the smuggler's moon. The initial Imperial strategy was classic shock and awe. TIE fighters swarmed the skies, their green lasers cutting through the perpetual smog and rain. Walkers, including AT-ATS and AT-STS, were deployed to the moon's surface, their heavy footfalls echoing through the vertical cities and labyrinthine underlevels. Stormtrooper legions marched through the promenades, expecting the local populace of smugglers, bounty hunters, and assorted criminals to scatter in fear. They were wrong. Nal Hutta wasn't a planet of civilians. It was a fortress disguised as a city. Every smuggler had a modified freighter armed to the teeth. Every bounty hunter was a one-person army. Every shadowy alley concealed mercenaries and assassins loyal only to the highest bidder, and the Hutts were paying top dollar. The initial Imperial landing zones became chaotic kill boxes. The Hutts, using their vast network of informants, knew exactly where the Imperials would land. Mercenary squads armed with black market heavy repeaters, thermal detonators, and even stolen Imperial weaponry ambushed the stormtroopers. Droid assassins, reprogrammed HK units, and deadly creatures from across the galaxy were unleashed from hidden pens. The verticality of Nal Hutta's cities proved to be a nightmare for Imperial ground commanders. Snipers picked off officers from skyscrapers a kilometer high, while demolition charges sent entire walkways crashing down onto advancing walker columns. The Hutts didn't fight a conventional war. They orchestrated a symphony of chaos, and the stormtroopers were the unwilling instruments. The battle for Nal Hutta was not just fought on the ground. In the smog-choked skies and low orbit, a different kind of war raged. The Imperial Navy expected to face a disorganized rabble. Instead, they were met by the Hutt's secret weapon, the Hutt Defense Fleet. For centuries, the Hutts had secretly commissioned and constructed their own warships, vessels that blended brute force with unorthodox design. Ships like the Drev Hapar-class cruisers, ugly but heavily shielded and armed, emerged from hidden shipyards. They were slow and clumsy compared to a Star Destroyer, but they could absorb an astonishing amount of punishment. Swarms of modified starfighters, piloted by the best mercenary pilots money could buy, flew circles around the TIE squadrons, their tactics unpredictable and suicidal. The Hutts even deployed Q-carriers, seemingly harmless freighters that would open up to reveal dozens of hidden fighters, springing a trap on overconfident Imperial patrols. Grand Moff Trask's swift victory was turning into a bloody, grinding stalemate in the skies above the smuggler's moon. While Nal Hutta burned, the real prize, Nal Hutta, prepared for the inevitable invasion. Here, the battlefield was entirely different. Instead of vertical cities, the Empire faced a planet of putrid swamps, stagnant bogs, and toxic jungles. The very air was corrosive to Imperial equipment, and the wildlife was lethal. The Hutts, in their natural element, turned the planet itself into a weapon. They didn't need to build fortifications. The swamps were their fortress. Imperial walkers bogged down in the thick mud, becoming easy targets for Hutt war beasts like the massive Chemelizards. Stormtroopers in their pristine white armor were swallowed whole by the swamps or fell victim to venomous creatures and flesh-eating fungi. The Hutts, led by formidable Khajiitics like the Desaligic and Besadii clans, coordinated their defense from their opulent, heavily fortified palaces. Jabba the Hutt himself, a rising power within the Desaligic clan, proved to be a surprisingly effective military strategist. He used his criminal empire's vast resources to hire entire mercenary armies, including seasoned Mandalorian warriors and Trandoshan hunting parties, who thrived in the swampy terrain. These forces conducted brutal guerrilla campaigns, striking Imperial supply lines, ambushing patrols, and disappearing back into the muck. The Hutts used their immense wealth to turn every living thing on the planet against the invaders. Even the native Avoshii, long oppressed by the Hutts, were armed and unleashed upon the Imperials, promised rewards for every helmet they collected. For the average stormtrooper, Nal Hutta was a living nightmare from which there was no escape. Back on Nal Hutta, the battle for the Corellian sector, a key industrial and commercial hub, became the focal point of the war. The Empire poured in reinforcements, determined to break the stalemate. They deployed elite shadow troopers and force assault teams to cut the head off the snake, targeting the command centers of the Hutt-aligned criminal syndicates like the Black Sun and the Exchange. But the syndicates were just as ruthless. They retaliated with their own elite assassins and saboteurs. The fighting descended into a brutal, street-by-street, level-by-level slog. For every sector the Empire pacified, another would erupt in open rebellion behind their lines. The Hutts were masters of asymmetric warfare, using their criminal infrastructure to move weapons, troops, and supplies through hidden tunnels and shadow ports the Empire couldn't even find. The war on Nal Hutta became a bottomless pit, consuming Imperial lives and equipment at an alarming rate. Grand Moff Trask, from the bridge of the Abrogator, grew increasingly desperate. His promised swift victory was now a months-long quagmire. His reports to Coruscant became more and more frantic, requesting ever more troops and ships. But the Emperor had little patience for failure. The resources being wasted in Hutt space were needed elsewhere to fight the growing rebel alliance. The war was becoming an embarrassment. Trask, fearing for his career and his life, decided on a final, desperate gamble. He would bypass the fleet battle and the ground war and strike directly at the heart of Hutt power, the Hutt Grand Council on Nal Hutta. His plan was to personally lead an elite force to the Council's chambers and force them to surrender under the threat of orbital bombardment. It was a foolish, arrogant plan, and the Hutts were waiting for him. Trask and his personal guard of royal guardsmen landed near the council building, only to find themselves completely surrounded. The Hutts had allowed him to walk right into their ultimate trap. The forces that met him were not a disorganized militia, but the personal armies of the 5 most powerful Hutt families, a legion of battle-hardened Gamorreans, deadly Nikto warriors, and cybernetically enhanced Cladonian enforcers. The battle was short and brutal. Trask's elite guards were overwhelmed, and the Grand Moff himself was captured. He was brought in chains before the Hutt Council, not as a conqueror, but as a pathetic prisoner. The Hutts, in their ultimate display of power and contempt, had Trask encased in carbonite. They didn't kill him. Instead, they sent the frozen slab back to the Empire as a message. A trophy. The humiliation was total. With their commander captured and their forces bled white on 2 fronts, the Imperial campaign collapsed. The surviving Imperial forces conducted a hasty retreat from Hutt space, harassed every step of the way by mercenary fighters and syndicate cruisers. The Empire had thrown its fist at the Hutts and broken its hand. They had learned a costly lesson. Hutt power wasn't just in their fleets or armies. It was in their wealth, their connections, their ruthlessness, and their absolute control over the galactic underworld. They couldn't be conquered with brute force because they didn't play by the Empire's rules. Following the disaster, the Empire was forced back to the negotiating table, signing treaties that were even more favorable to the Hutts than before. Officially, the campaign was scrubbed from Imperial records, a secret shame for the regime. But in the cantinas and shadow ports of the Outer Rim, the story of the Empire's failed war is still told, a cautionary tale about the folly of arrogance and the enduring power of the Hutt cartels. And that's the story of how the Hutts handed the Galactic Empire one of its most humiliating defeats. What do you think? Could the Empire have won if they had used a different strategy? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into galactic history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more untold stories from a galaxy far, far away. Until next time, may the Force be with you.